Good evening. Clearly, we find ourselves in unprecedented times. I know that during my lifetime, I have never experienced a situation such as what we are experiencing now. I know to many of us, it seems surreal to drive around town and have no vehicles surrounding you, much less being able to park next to the building in which you are going to do business. Whatever your feelings may be regarding the pandemic, I think we can all agree that we are dealing with something more serious than the common cold or flu. This particular virus is a nasty little bug that can wreak havoc with young and old alike, but especially our most vulnerable. If you have a predisposition to breathing problems, are older than 65, or have autoimmune problems, please stay home. I know that we are all inconvenienced, but in the scheme of life, the time that we are inconvenienced is relatively short compared to the long life that we will lead when this is all through. We all know that by order of the Grand Master, all Masonic events and gatherings are canceled while this crisis continues. This is not to instill panic, but to protect us all. So we at Morning Star are complying with this order and will not have any formal or informal gatherings for the foreseeable future. Even now, in the recording of this message, we are practicing social distancing because it is not that we will become infected with the virus ourselves, but rather, who will we infect? While we may be practicing social distancing, we at Morning Star are not practicing brotherly distancing. As many of you know, Morning Star has compiled a list of those brothers over the age of 70 and are widows, as they are, for the most part, our most vulnerable brothers and sweethearts. However, I have to say that after talking to many of these brothers on the telephone, they appear to be much more capable than a lot of us in getting along. I am proud of my Morning Star brothers, for they exhibit the kind of traits that I would look for in any man, much less a Mason. However, as members of Morning Star, we have to be vigilant in watching out for our brothers. Even though that many of us have lists and are making regular calls, don't leave it to us. Call a brother who you think may be vulnerable and see how he is doing. It does not take long. And while he or she may be annoyed at all of these people bothering him or her, they're glad that someone cares to check on them. Most, if not all of us, have heard the opening phrase by Thomas Paine in the series of pamphlets that he wrote in 1776, known as the American Crisis. The pamphlets begin with the well-known phrase, "These are the times that try men's souls." However, it goes on to say, "The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot may in this crisis shrink from the service of his country, but he that stands it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman." While the pamphlets were written to stir a revolutionary spirit in the colonies, we can look at those words and apply them to many of us in Morning Star, who being the most friendliest lodge in the state, is also the most caring. We will serve our brothers and serve our country, and do the best we can to aid society. I also believe that one can apply these lines to our first responders and healthcare workers who are toiling on the front lines to care for our sick and dying. Be sure to thank them. As your secretary, I am charged with being a communicator of the lodge. This means that I talk to a great number of people during the day. I am heartened to receive calls from brothers and those that are not brothers volunteering to grocery shop, take a list of phone calls, or simply run errands for those who cannot. This makes me proud to be a Mason, and in particular a member of Morning Star. Whether these volunteers are Masons, spouses of Masons, or simply someone who would perhaps want to be a Mason, the spirit that they show are symbolic to the spirit and traits that we as Masons show time and time again. Also, as secretary, it is my job to carry on the business of the lodge. As you know, stated meetings are canceled until such time as the stay-at-home orders are lifted and it is safe for us to return to lodge. However, it is necessary to conduct the necessary business to keep our lodge going. The officers of Morning Star, in compliance with the Grand Master's directive, will meet via conference call or email to authorize the payments of the necessary bills of the lodge. Other necessary business may also occur. Once stated meetings resume, the acts of the officers will be presented to the lodge, and the aforementioned acts will then be ratified. So at that first stated meeting, when we can meet again, bring your no-dos. This time of year brings about the unpleasant task of dues payments and suspensions. To date, we have 17 brothers who are subject to suspension. Ordinarily, under the California Masonic Code, their dues would have to be paid by May 1st, 2020, if they are a single member of Morningstar Lodge, or by June 1st, 2020, if they are a plural member or a member of a concordant body. All suspensions are due by January 30th, 2020 to Grand Lodge, so that those members who are delinquent are not counted against our per capita. To date, that date has not been waived by Grand Lodge. The officers of Morningstar recognize that with all of the layoffs and lack of work for those who have jobs that are non-essential, it may be problematic for you to pay their dues to avoid suspension. However, to give those brothers as much relief as possible, we have arrived at the following plan. 1. Notices of intent to suspend will be mailed by certified mail prior to March 31st, 2020. 2. The notices will have a date of June 4th, 2020, in which to have your dues paid. 3. For those who have not paid their dues by that date, approval will be made by the lodge to suspend. 4. However, I will place a motion on the floor to table the suspensions until June 29th, 2020, at which time I will notify Grand Lodge of the suspensions. This will give our brothers the maximum time possible to pay their dues or approach me or any member of the executive board, the worshipful master, the senior and junior warden, treasurer, or secretary with their problem. The charitable board will take this issue up with confidence and will make a consideration to have his dues remitted. It is my goal to have 0 suspensions for non-payment of dues for the year 2020. Help me meet that goal. Remember when you knelt at the altar and took your obligation? The Master was kneeling with you in behalf of the lodge. Not only did you promise to take care of your brothers in time of need, your brothers, through the Master, promised to take care of you. We are here for you, and we want to help if we can. Please come to us. My telephone number and email address can be found in the trestle board or at stocktonmasons.org. My fellow officers have all raised their glass in a toast to the spirit and brotherly love of the members of Morningstar. I will join them, but later. For now, I am content to roll up my sleeves, pour myself another cup of coffee, and keep working to help get us through this. Peace to you, my brothers.